saying what we're working toward is having a sales staff dedicated to sales, and those are agents. And that should be the goal. If a manager has to submit you to get things going, to get an agency excited, great, that's what it takes to get an agency excited. But there needs to be an agency involved because they are the people who can legally do your business. They can negotiate a contract. A manager cannot negotiate a contract. They do, but they can't. That is not a valid, their advice is not valid, won't stand up in court. You can't go to court and say, my manager said, the judge will say, well, too bad. They weren't licensed to advise, you took their advice, you're an idiot. Managers are marketing directors. Now, if they're operating it as agents in order to move you along, you might accept that gift, but the goal is, when have I moved along enough to have a sales staff? Because I want one. And then you say, well then do I not need my manager? Ooh, you need him even more. Because the manager moved you along to the point that you can have a sales staff. Now you need somebody to manage the sales staff. That's a manager. There are a lot of other relationships that exist, and a lot of them work. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying what we want to do, all the other stuff. When a manager says, oh, I can fully represent you, it is B-U-N-K. They can't do that. They are not legally set up. They may do it, and it may be helpful at a certain stage that they're willing to do that. But ultimately, that is not the situation we want to be in. Ultimately, we want to be in a situation, if there's going to be a combination of agent and manager, there is a manager who is our sales manager, our marketing director, and there is an agent who is our sales staff. Now, when agents say to you, you don't need a manager, I can do all of that. They can't do all of that, because if they are, they're not doing their sales job. Now, you may have managers who do some managerial stuff for you, fine, but it isn't the situation that we are ideally headed to. Ideally, sales staff has plenty to do selling, marketing director and sales manager has plenty to do doing that. That's ideal. Most of us are operating careers that aren't yet ideal. So we do what we have to do, and all these relationships can work, and there are completely honest agents that do some management kind of functions, and there are completely wonderful managers that submit and negotiate, but it isn't the ideal situation. And when one tries to tell you that it is the ideal situation, that's the bump. It may be the serviceable situation at the moment, but it isn't the ideal situation. All right? What's over here?
Publicists.
Publicists. Any of you challenged by this? We need to talk about publicists. Any of you considered that, want that, think you need that? Let me just say one basic rule here. Probably it's in the next phase of career for most of you. But one important thing to do. Publicists can't do anything if there's nothing to publicize. There has to be something to publicize, and your fabulous is not publicizable. There has to be an event, there has to be something happening, there has to be a change in career, there has to be something to announce, there has to be something that they can carry out there as a piece of information to draw attention to. Just the fact that you're wonderful isn't enough. That may get them interested, but they still have to have you cast in something, you doing something, you wrote something, you sold something, you did something, you know, you were arrested. They have to have an event in order to do what they do. So if you're considering getting one, if some of you do have trust funds, you think, oh, I'll just hire a publicist. Unless there's something to publicize, you're essentially paying them to hold your hand and to tell you how fabulous you are. Because the rest of the industry isn't interested in how fabulous you are unless it's got a lead, unless there's something to put in the story that allows people to be interested in it. Your general fabulousness is not interesting.
Just on that note, just because I just finished with Dallas, I was just going to say that I used to walk around saying Sam Christensen is my God. She's nipping at your heels, Sam, just so you know.
There can be a goddess.
Goddess, okay.
Dallas is another person that I have worked with, like I do Samantha,
Yeah.
who is very, very smart, talented, and motivational. Go
I've
ahead.
been saying Sam's changed my life. Dallas has also changed it in
Good.
another way.
I didn't
But
have
she
to
does
be
a lot of, she does a whole class about publicity stuff that you can do on your own without a publicist.
Yeah.
So if anyone's interested.
And there's a lot one can, as a matter of fact, this is the underlying thing. The engagement of a publicist is so often unnecessary. There are moments, there are things, there are times when careers are moving along you can't handle it. But all of the functions, you can write a release the same as any other publicist can. You can send something, you can do internet updates, you can do internet flash mailing, you can do all the things a publicist can do. Now, a publicist who's known by a certain paper, a certain outlet, is going to get preferential placement. They've earned it. They've been publicists all their life. But most of you can't earn that anyway. That's why you don't have a publicist. You can get in on a lower echelon, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do on your own. All kinds of stuff. Now, then we have to discuss the value of publicity. And it is important that you understand what publicity does. It draws attention. It does not make something valid. So the validity of what's being publicized has to come from you. You have to have something valid that they can draw attention to. Attention just drawn to air is ultimately nothing. I just want my name out there. For what? If people can't attach your name to something, a performance someplace, a review, something, if they can't attach your name to something, there's nothing to publicize. So even when you're doing it on your own, and there is, first of all, it's creative and fun to figure out all the different little angles and things you can do. It's kind of exciting.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's very fun. You got to figure out what are the angles, what are the leads, what am I publicizing here? What am I drawing attention to? What are the events, the dates, the happenings, the moments, the things that I want to shine a light on so more people know about it? Then it can be really fun and exciting, and there is more you can do for yourself in that regard than there is in representing yourself as an agent or a manager, and there's stuff you can do there too, and we all have to at various stages. But the publicity is the thing that you can do more with.
Sam,
Okay.
did you want to do Q&A tonight? Because if you do, we should.
I better
Yeah.
stop. I have so much more bunk I want to talk
Just
about.
say-
I wanna
We'll
talk
do
about
another
one-
night sometime.
Yeah, I think I have to do bunk too. Maybe I'll do that. I had one.
It'll save you from thinking, I'm trying to think of a topic for next month.
I want to tell you, I had one time. Oh, I do want to talk about this one, and then I do want to do some Q&A. The whole thing about this is a business based on who you know, and we all go, well, then that means you've got to know important people, and I think that's unfair, and I don't want it to be about who you know, I want it to be about what I am and my talents. I agree, but it's still about who you know. And not that you need to know high-placed people. Yeah, that's nice. If there's somebody that's high-placed and powerful, that's great. But it is a business like all businesses, but especially this business, is a business of colleagues. It is collegial. It is about who you know. I'll give you an example. Ryan, who I've already talked, Ryan knew a group of people from Florida that he sort of came out here amongst. Yeah. All right? These people have stuck together as a group. And not, they've made a lot of other friends and all kinds of other associations, but they have kept this collegial thing that they shared coming from common roots in Florida, many of them represented by the same agent. They came from a background that gave them a collegial relationship, which they have retained. And now these guys have spun this into all kinds of things that are pilots and that are stage shows and that are all kinds of things that nobody has as yet become a major star or gotten rich. But everybody has moved along and climbed up the ladder. Is that not the case? And it has to do as much with who they knew. They didn't know famous people, they knew each other. And that is a really important thing. What's bunk is that you gotta know powerful people. You don't have to, because the people you know who aren't powerful now are going to be powerful today. All the people that knew, what's the guy's name from the writer, the sweet guy who wrote?
Bob DeRosa?
Huh?
Bob DeRosa?
Oh, Bob, the
Well, it worked with P.T.
major
Anderson.
sweet guy, who's a part of that crowd. No, the one who wrote Knocked Up.
Shut up.
Judd Apatow.